I never thought a single fork hitting a plate could shatter a lifetime. But there it was, clattering like a gunshot in the stuffy air of our family dining room in suburban Cleveland. My mother, Evelyn, the queen of passive-aggressive barbs wrapped in pearls and Chanel No. 5, had just declared the inheritance. The house, the one Dad built with his own calloused hands before the cancer took him, wasn't mine. It was going to my sister, Lila, the golden child, the one who'd always skated through life on charm and lies. "You've been dead weight since the day you were born, Addison," Mom said, her voice honeyed poison, eyes never leaving her mashed potatoes. "Lila's the future. You're just echoes of mistakes." That's when the rage ignited, not a slow burn but a supernova in my chest. I didn't scream or cry, I smiled. Because in that moment, staring at the two women who'd sold me out for a real estate deed, I knew exactly how I'd make them pay. I'd slip into their world, wear their skin, and burn it all down from the inside. It started 6 months earlier, back when the mistake, Mom referenced still hung over me like a noose. I'd just turned 28, scraping by as a freelance graphic designer in a one-bedroom walk-up off Euclid Avenue. The kind of place where the heat only works on Tuesdays, and the neighbors blast Motown at 3 a.m. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, until the call from Mom came, summoning me home for family business. I should have known better. The Harpers didn't do heart-to-hearts. We did transactions. The house in Shaker Heights was the same as always. Colonial facade hiding rot inside. Manicured lawn screaming old money even as the mortgage payments bled us dry. Dad's old study smelled of pipe tobacco and regret, the walls lined with law books from his days as a probate attorney. Mom had taken over after he died, turning it into her personal fiefdom, complete with a wine cellar and a meditation room that was really just a closet for her yoga mats and Valium prescriptions. Lila was there when I arrived, perched on the leather sofa like she owned it, which, apparently, she soon would. At 32, she was the spitting image of Mom. Sharp cheekbones, auburn hair in a perfect bob, and eyes that could appraise your soul and find it wanting. She'd clawed her way up the corporate ladder at some hedge fund downtown, the kind where they bet on foreclosures and call it disruption. Me? I was the black sheep, the one who dropped out of design school to find myself after Dad's funeral, only to end up illustrating indie comics no one read. "Addie, darling," Lila cooed, air-kissing my cheek without touching it. "You look rustic." Mom breezed in with a tray of martinis, her silk blouse whispering against the hardwood. "We need to talk about the will, girls." Dad's will. The one he'd updated on his deathbed, leaving the house to me. His little artist, he'd called me. The one who'd sat with him through chemo, sketching his portraits to keep his spirits up. It was his way of saying sorry for the years he'd buried himself in work, ignoring the cracks in our family. But Mom had contested it, of course. Emotional duress, her lawyer called it. And now here we were. She laid it out like a closing argument. The house to Lila, because she deserved stability after her hardships. Lila's divorce from that tech bro who'd cleaned her out? Sure, that was a hardship. My hardships. The DUI I'd taken the fall for 5 years back. The one that was really Lila's, after she'd wrapped her Beamer around a tree coming home from a gala, high on coke and Cabernet. I'd covered for her, because that's what sisters do, right? Lied to the cops, took the plea deal, did community service scrubbing graffiti off bridges while she jetted to Cabo for self-care. Mom had orchestrated it all, whispering in the DA's ear through her country club connections. "You bore it well, Addison," Mom said now, sipping her drink. "But debts get paid. Lila's the one who'll carry on the Harper name properly." I felt the secret festering, the one I'd buried deeper than Dad's ashes in Lakeview Cemetery. Lila's crash wasn't just a bender. She'd been fleeing a boardroom affair gone sour, embezzling client funds to cover her lover's bad traits. I'd found the emails on her laptop that night, piecing it together while she sobbed in the passenger seat. To protect her, to protect the family image, I'd confessed to driving, claimed the coke was mine. It cost me my scholarship, my internship at that Cleveland ad agency, everything. And for what? So she could rise higher, while I drowned. That night, after they dismissed me with a pat on the head and a think about therapy, I drove to the only place in this godforsaken city that felt like escape, the abandoned warehouse district by the Cuyahoga River, where urban explorers whispered about the switch. It was urban legend, a relic from some Cold War psych experiment leaked into the black market, a neural interface device, jury-rigged from declassified DARPA tech. Supposedly, it let you swap perspectives with someone else for a few hours, a hallucinogenic mind meld for thrill seekers or desperate lovers. But I'd heard darker rumors. Permanent swaps if you push the voltage, souls trading cages in a glitch of quantum fuckery. The dealer was a wiry ex-con named Jax, holed up in a shipping container turned Faraday cage, his face lit by the glow of salvaged oscilloscopes. "You sure, Addy? This ain't no VR headset. It's wetware, hooks into your gray matter. One zap, and you're not you anymore." I handed over my last 500, the emergency fund from my Venmo gigs. "Make it permanent. And target her, Lila Harper. She's at the house tonight." He raised an eyebrow. "Soldering leads to a backpack rig that hummed like a pissed-off hornet. Sister swap? That's some Greek tragedy shit. You know the risks? Memories bleed, identities fuzz. You might wake up liking kale smoothies and CrossFit." "Do it," I said, strapping on the crown of electrodes. It smelled like burnt ozone and regret. The jolt hit like a freight train through my skull, white-hot, then nothing. Blackness swallowed me, and when I surfaced, gasping on silk sheets that weren't mine, I knew it had worked. The mirror across the room showed Lila's face staring back. High cheekbones, full lips painted stop sign red, eyes wide with my own confusion. But inside, it was me, Addison Harper, the disappointment, puppeteering my sister's body like a vengeful ghost. Panic clawed first. Her memories flickered like bad reception, fragments of board meetings and Botox appointments assaulting my thoughts. I stumbled to the en-suite bathroom, a marble palace I'd only glimpsed during holidays, and retched into the pedestal sink. Her body was heavier in the chest, lighter in the step, every movement a betrayal of muscle memory. I flexed her manicured fingers, watching veins pulse under flawless skin. This was power, raw and intoxicating. No more scraping by. I was Lila now, heir apparent, with access to bank apps, Rolodexes, and mom's blind trust. But the swap wasn't clean. Downstairs, in the kitchen, the real Lila, trapped in my scrawny frame, pounded on the back door, her voice muffled and frantic. "Let me in. What the fuck did you do, Addie?" Lila, sipped her favorite Pinot Noir, savoring the vintage she'd never share. "Who's Addie? You must have me confused with the help." She banged harder, my old body looking pathetic under the porch light. Baggy jeans, faded Ramones tee, hair a tangled mess. "This isn't funny. I feel wrong, like I'm wearing someone else's skin." Mom appeared behind me, robe cinched tight, her face a mask of annoyance. "What's all this racket? Addison, if you're drunk again." I cut her off with Lila's silkiest laugh. "It's nothing, Mother. Just a vagrant. Call security." By dawn, we'd bundled me into the basement guest room, duct taping the door after a quick zip tie on the wrists. Mom didn't question it. Why would she? I was her perfect daughter now, the one who'd never faltered. As I locked the deadbolt, I caught a glimpse of the family portrait on the wall. Dad's proud smile, Mom's poised elegance, Lila's precocious grin, and me, faded into the background even then. Not anymore. The first week was a masterclass in deception. Lila's life was a high-wire act. Dawn yoga at the club, followed by power breakfasts at Reserve Square, where hedge fund bros slapped her ass and called her killer. I played the part, channeling her cutthroat charm, closing deals on distressed properties while siphoning microtransfers to her offshore account. It was revenge in pixels, every keystroke draining the empire she'd built on my silence. But the bleed started creeping in. Nightmares where I dreamed of my own hands sketching Dad's face, only to see them morph into Lila's, ink smearing into bloodless cuts. Whispers in boardrooms. "Lila, you okay? You seem off." Her colleagues noticed the shift, the way I doodled margins instead of dominating slides, how I'd zone out staring at the lake view, remembering the river's oily sheen where Jax had vanished with his payout. Mom, bless her scheming heart, was the easiest mark. Over Sunday brunch at the club, avocado toast and mimosas, she confided her concerns about the real estate with the homeless girl. "Addison's always been unstable," she sighed, spearing a strawberry. "But we protect our own, don't we, darling?" I reached across the white tablecloth, squeezing her hand with sisterly warmth. "Of course, Mom. Family first." That night, I dosed the basement captive with Lila's stash of Ambien, ground into instant coffee. She, my body, slumped against the rec room couch, eyes glassy but defiant. You think this fixes anything? Mom will figure it out. She always does. I crouched, tracing the bruise blooming on my cheek from the tape. Up close, my old face looked younger, haunted, like the girl who'd confessed to a crime that wasn't hers. Fixes? No, but it'll make you feel what I did. Invisible. Erased. Her laugh was bitter, my own voice cracking. The crash? That was one night, Addie. You chose to cover. For love, or whatever bullshit we called it. Love, I hissed, Lila's perfume cloying in the air. It was survival. You were the star, I was the shield. And for that, you let me rot. As I left her there, chained to the radiator with words we'd never spoken, I felt the first crack in the facade. Guilt? No. Justice, delayed but ripening. The second week blurred into a fever dream of corporate espionage and domestic sabotage. Posing as Lila, I accessed her work laptop. Password, Daddy Dearest 69, because irony dies hard, and dove into the digital vaults. There it was, the embezzlement trail, buried under layers of shell companies and crypto wallets. 5 years ago, she'd skimmed $2.3 million from vulnerable clients. Widows, retirees, folks like the ones Dad had fought for in court. To cover it, she'd pinned a smaller fraud on a junior analyst, who ate a bullet in a Parma motel 6 months later. The cops called it suicide, I called it collateral. Printing the files felt like exhaling after years underwater. But revenge isn't a solo act, it needs an audience. I started small, anonymous tips to the SEC hotline, disguised as whistleblower chatter from concerned colleagues. Then, bolder, hacking her email to schedule meetings with regulators, forging invites that painted her as the eager confessor. At home, the charade tightened. Mom hosted her weekly book club, Suburban Witches in Lululemon, dissecting Gone Girl, while ignoring the real psychos in their midst. I played hostess, circulating Pinot and platters of artisanal cheese, dropping hints like grenades. Remember that analyst who offed himself? Lila always said he was unstable. But what if? They tittered, dismissing it as office drama. Mom shot me a look, Lila's look, sharp as a stiletto. Darling, not now. The help might hear. The help was me, downstairs, where I'd rigged a baby monitor to eavesdrop on my prisoner's mutterings. She was breaking, my body wasting on protein shakes and rage. Addie, please. I can feel you in my head. The sketches, the river, it hurts. Her pleas wormed in, mixing with Lila's memories, flashes of us as kids, building forts in the backyard, whispering secrets under the quilt. Had there been love once? Before the crash, before Mom's favoritism turned it toxic? I shoved it down, focusing on the plan's crescendo. The climax brewed at the Family Law Gala, a black tie affair at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where Cleveland's elite preened over foie gras and first editions. Mom was in her element, schmoozing judges in a gown that cost more than my yearly rent. I, as Lila, arrived fashionably late, her red Versace clinging like a second skin, arm looped through a mark. Senator Harlan Graves, a silver fox with a penchant for insider tips and indiscretions. He was key, chair of the state's ethics committee, with a nose for corruption that rivaled his taste for blondes. Over caviar blinis, I fed him the bait. Harlan, off the record, my firm's got skeletons. That Harper hedge fund mess? My doing. His eyes lit, predatory. Lila, honey, that's treason talk. You got proof. I slid him a USB drive across the linen, disguised as a lipstick case. Everything. But keep it quiet till Monday. Family's involved. Mom spotted us from across the hall, her smile freezing mid-sip. She glided over, all maternal concern. Senator Graves, how lovely. Lila, darling, you look flushed. Too much champagne. Never enough? I purred, watching her calculate. She'd always known about the skim. Hell, she'd laundered the profits through her charity, Foundation for At-Risk Youth. Irony again. Helping the very kids her daughter had doomed. That night, back at the house, the trap snapped. Mom cornered me in the study, Dad's old domain, her face thunderous under the brass lamp. What the hell are you playing at with Graves? That drive, it's suicide. I leaned against his desk, fingers tracing the leather blotter where he'd signed my college checks. Suicide? Like the analysts? Or like pinning everything on Addison to keep your hands clean. She blanched, then recovered with venom. You ungrateful little, after all I've done? I built this family. You were the weak link, always. Covering for your sister's mistakes? That was your choice. My choice. Laughter bubbled up, Lila's throaty timbre laced with my bitterness. You orchestrated it. The DA lunch, the donation to his campaign. You made me the fall guy so Lila could shine. The basement door creaked then, my oversight, leaving it unlatched in haste. Footsteps thudded up the stairs, my old body shambling into the light, wild-eyed and feral. Evelyn, it rasped, me, in chains of flesh. She's not your Lila. She's me. Mom's scream was operatic, hand flying to her pearls. She lunged for the phone, but I was faster, slamming it down, Lila's heels clicking like judgments. Call it even, mother. You took my home. I took your daughter. Chaos erupted, grappling in the Persian rug, Mom's nails raking my arm, curses flying like buckshot. The real Lila, trapped in me, tackled her from behind, a desperate bear hug that ended with all three of us tangled, panting. Sirens wailed distant, neighbors roused by the commotion. By the time the cops burst in, flashing lights painting the walls blue, the truth unraveled in sobs and accusations. Mom, ever the performer, spun it as a psychotic break, pointing at Addison as the intruder. But the USB's trail led back, forensics pulling threads until the whole rotten tapestry frayed. Embezzlement, coercion, the crash logs falsified in Mom's handwriting. Handcuffs clicked on wrists, mine, hers, the real Lila's, as the foyer filled with uniforms and questions. I met Mom's eyes across the melee, her empire crumbling in real time. You wanted stability, I said, voice steady in Lila's throat. Here's your future. But as they let us out, the bleed hit critical. Flashes, Lila's terror in my skin, my sketches bleeding into her deal memos. Was I still me? Or had the swap stolen pieces of us both? The holding cell at Cuyahoga County Jail smelled like bleach and broken dreams, a concrete box where the fluorescent buzz drilled into your skull like a dentist's regret. They separated us, me and Lila's body, still dolled up in that Versace from the gala, now rumpled and reeking of sweat. The real Lila in my threadbare clothes, shivering under a scratchy blanket. Mom in a private suite, lawyered up before the ink dried on the arrest report. Solitary for high profiles, they called it. Bullshit for keeping the rich from slumming it. Interrogation came at dawn. A detective named Ruiz with a mustache like a 70s cop show villain and eyes that saw through alibis. He slid a styrofoam coffee my way. Lila's way. Black, no sugar, just how she took it. Ms. Harper, he drawled, flipping open a folder thick as a Bible. Care to explain the body swap story? Or should we start with the fraud? I sipped, the bitterness grounding me. Her memories surged. Boardroom victories, Mom's approving nods. But mine anchored deeper. The river, Dad's hand on my shoulder during chemo vigils. It's all connected, I said, voice husky from screaming. Start with the crash. 5 years ago. It wasn't me driving. He leaned back, scribbling. No judgment, just the grind of a man who'd heard every lie. I spilled it. The night, the tree, the cocaine-dusted dash cam footage I'd scrubbed but never forgotten. How Mom had pulled strings, how I'd confessed to protect Lila, the sister who'd once braided my hair, who we'd shared secrets over contraband cigarettes in the attic. She was spiraling, I admitted. Embezzling to chase highs. I thought. Family fixes itself. Ruiz nodded, slow. And the swap? That's the fairy tale part. Some sci-fi gadget from the docks. Warehouse district, I corrected. Jax, real name Jeremiah Knox, parolee from 18. He runs a chop shop for black market tech. DARPA leftovers, neural bridges for VR prototypes. I paid him to link us. Permanent. He chuckled, dry. And it worked? You're Lila Harper now. Close enough. But doubt not. In the mirror of the one-way glass, her face stared back, but my tics showed, biting her lower lip, a habit she'd never had. The bleed was accelerating, her poise cracking under my clumsiness, my rage fueling her calculated smiles. Across the hall, they grilled the real Lila. I heard echoes through the vents, her denial shrill, then breaking into pleas. It's her. Addison did this, crazy bitch from some comic book delusion. Mom's lawyer, a slick weasel in Armani, shuttled between rooms, offering deals, immunity for testimony, reduced sentences for cooperation. The house, frozen in probate, a ghost in the machine. Bail hearing was a circus. Paparazzi swarming the steps like locusts, headlines screaming, Harper heist, sisters swap secrets and skins. Cleveland's finest tabloids ate it up, turning our tragedy into clickbait. Mom posted bond first, vanishing into a fleet of black SUVs. Lila's my body, got remanded, too unstable for release. Me? They held for psych eval, shrinks poking at the delusional overlay. The doc was a soft-spoken shrink named Patel, with wire rims and a clipboard that smelled like lavender hand sanitizer. Addison, or Lila, described the dissonance. We sat in a rec room painted institutional beige, vending machine coffee steaming between us. It's like wearing a mask that breathes, I said. I see her life in flashes, the affairs, the deals. But I feel mine, the guilt, the fire. The swap didn't just trade bodies, it fused us. She nodded, jotting. Dissociative identity? Or somatic transference? We'll need scans. Scans came later, in a hospital wing that reeked of iodine and indifference. MRI whirs and cold gels confirmed the impossible. Neural patterns overlapping, synaptic bridges firing where no tech should reach. Jax's rig had bridged more than minds. It had rewritten code, grafting identities like Frankenstein graphs. Reversible? Patel asked the tech. With a counterpulse? Maybe. But risky, could fry the pathways. I laughed hollow. Reversible meant losing the leverage, slipping back into obscurity while they rebuilt. No, the plan evolved. Not just exposure, but erasure. Mom's empire teetered. One push, and it toppled. Word came via Ruiz's slip. Mom was rallying allies, spinning the swap as Addison's hoax to discredit us both. Lila's firm had suspended her, me, pending investigation, but whispers of a cover-up swirled. I needed out to steer the storm. Bail for me hit on day 5, courtesy of a mystery donor, an indie publisher from my comic days who'd seen the headlines and wired funds. For the underdog, the note read, irony, now I was the heel. Back in the world, Cleveland felt alien. The lake wind sharper against Lila's skin, the skyline mocking with its glass towers. I holed up in her. No, my old. Walk up, the super grumbling about back rent but pocketing the cash I flashed. Her memories guided me. Hidden stashes in the floorboards, a Glock registered to a ghost LLC. Protection, she called it. Paranoia, I knew. First stop, Jax's warehouse. The river lapped black under sodium lights, shipping containers like tombstones. The Faraday cage was dark, door ajar. Jax slumped inside. Overdose, track marks fresh. Suicide, or mom's cleaners. The rig lay dismantled, components scattered like autopsy parts. No counter-swap. Just me, forever borrowed. Rage refocused. Hit mom where it hurt, the foundation. Her charity gala loomed. A fundraiser for youth empowerment at the Museum of Art. Ironies piling like debt. I crashed it as Lila, gown rented on her Amex, face a porcelain mask. The crowd was old money ossified. Judges, donors, the senator nursing a scotch. Mom held court by the Warhol, radiant in emerald silk. Our eyes met across the klimt, hers widening, then narrowing to slits. Lila, she hissed, steering me to an alcove. What are you doing? Go home, the real home, before you ruin everything. Everything, I whispered, close enough to smell her Chanel. Like you ruined me? The crash, the blame. Dad knew, didn't he? That's why the will. Her slap landed soft, gloved. He pitied you. The weak one. I saved us. Saved? Voices swelled nearby, heads turned. I raised mine, projecting. Tell them, Evelyn, how you laundered Lila's thefts through this charity. How you let your daughters rot for your legacy. Gasps rippled. Phones emerged, recording. Mom's face drained to ash. Lies. Security. But the senator stepped in, USB 2.0 in hand. Afraid not, Evelyn. SEC's got the full ledger. Your daughter's singing like a canary. Her empire cracked then, audible in the shatter of her champagne flute. As cops swarmed anew, cuffing her amid flashes, I felt Lila's essence surge, triumph, then terror. Addie, stop. This is us. The gala dissolved into chaos, arrests, and alibis. Me? I slipped out a side door, lake air cool on stolen skin. But the twist waited in the shadows, a burner phone buzzing in my clutch. Jax's voice, pre-recorded. If you're hearing this, the swap's got a failsafe. 30 days, then reversal. Unless you fry it permanent. 30 days. I'd miscounted the calendar in jail. Tonight marked 29. Reversal meant back to me. Broken, but free. Or push the voltage, seal the fusion, become Lila forever. Power, but poisoned. Mom's limo idled curbside, door ajar. Inside, her silhouette, defeated. Addison, she croaked. Come home. We can fix this. Fix. The word hung. Debatable salvation or damnation. Dawn broke over the lake like a hangover, gray and unrelenting, as I weighed the coil in my hand. Jax's emergency rig, scavenged from his corpse's pocket, a tangle of wires and a single red button promising eternity or oblivion. The limo purred at the museum's valet, Mom's driver dozing at the wheel, oblivious to the storm passenger. 29 days in, and the choice loomed. Revert to Addison, the scapegoat, watching from afar as Lila's life, my theft, crumbled under indictments? Or merge, become the villainess fully, wielding her empire's shards to rebuild something sharper, darker. I slid into the back seat, the leather sighing under Lila's weight. Mom didn't flinch, makeup smudged like war paint under the passing street lamps. Drive, she murmured to the mirror. We ghosted through empty avenues, past the Rock Hall's glowing pyramid, toward the house that started it all, Shaker Heights, where the lawn stayed green year-round on sprinklers and spite. The silence stretched, thick as fog off the water. Finally, she spoke, voice a threadbare whisper. How far will you go, Addison? To destroy what? I met her eyes in the reflection, hers, haunted blue, mirroring the girl who'd once rocked me through nightmares. Not destroy. Rebalance. You taught me that. Every snide comment, every favor called in. The crash was your masterpiece. Lila's mess, my noose. She deflated, shoulders curving inward. I did it for survival. Your father. He was leaving everything to you, the dreamer. After his diagnosis, he saw too much. The fights, the debts. Thought you'd honor his memory with art and altruism. But Lila? She was steel. She'd keep the name alive, pay the bills. Steel. I scoffed, the rig heavy in my lap. Forged on lies. The analyst, his blood's on her hands, on yours. You let her pin it, then buried him in paperwork. A sob escaped, uncharacteristic. He was collateral. Like you. Families eat their weak to thrive. It's American as apple pie, Darwin in dollars. Her confession cracked something in me. Not the rage, but the illusion. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a mirror, reflecting the Harper rot I'd always suspected but never voiced. Dad's will wasn't pity. It was a plea, a hand extended from the grave to pull me from the mire. And I'd let them drown it. The limo pulled into the driveway, headlights sweeping the colonial facade like a spotlight on guilt. The real Lila waited inside, or what was left of her, paroled to house arrest pending trial, my body a husk monitored by ankle bracelet and shrinks. As we entered, the foyer clock told 5, each chime a countdown. 29 days, 13 hours. She was in the living room, curled on Dad's armchair, my old frame swallowed by a cashmere throw. Tubes snaked from her arm, for fluids, courtesy of withdrawal from Lila's cocktail of uppers and approvals. Her eyes, my eyes, flicked up hollow. You came back. We all did. Mom hovered, uncertain, the matriarch dethroned. I set the rig on the coffee table, its hum faint, accusatory. The swap's got a timer. Tonight, it reverses. Or I end it. Fuse us permanent. Lila's laugh, my rasp, crackled. Fuse? You'd wear me forever? The meetings, the masks? It's hell, Addie. I feel your sketches in my fingers, itching to draw instead of sign. Your river dreams, they choke me. And your secrets? I countered, pacing the Persian rug, heels sinking like quicksand. The gala highs, the power plays. I taste them, addictive. But the guilt, yours for the theft, mine for the cover, it's a noose tightening. Mom sank onto the sofa, pearls clicking. Then reverse it. Let the lawyers sort the rest. We can. Rebuild. Sell the house, split it fair. Be family again. Family. The word dangled, controversial bait. Rebuild on what? The lies that birthed us? Or seize the shards, forge something new? Me as Lila, queen of ruins, exposing every skeleton from Cleveland to Wall Street. The headlines would canonize or crucify. Sisters merge. Justice or madness? Debates in diners. Think pieces in the plain dealer. Had I liberated or stolen? Hero or horror? The clock struck 1/2 past. Timer ticking in my veins, a phantom pulse. Lila, me, reached out, hand trembling. Don't. Be you. I'll take the fall. Full confession, the crash, the skim. Mom too. Let me rot for real. Her offer hung, a twist sharper than the swap. Not reversal of truth, but inversion of roles. The golden child, offering sacrifice. Was it redemption, or her last manipulation? Trap me in weakness, reclaim her skin? I glanced at Mom, her face a rictus of hope and horror. Then at the rig, button glowing like a dare. Flashes assaulted, Dad's portrait in the study, smiling. The warehouse jolt, the gala shatter. Choices branched, happy ending in fragments, or tragic fusion, debatable to the grave. My finger hovered. Family first, I whispered, echoing her old mantra. The button depressed. A jolt, softer this time. No supernova, just a sigh of circuits yielding. Warmth spread, not erasure but equilibrium. Memories settling like sediment, identities blurring into hybrid. Addison in Lila's poise, Lila's steel in my fire. No full merge, no clean swap back, just us, entwined. A new Harper, singular and scarred. Mom gasped as I straightened, face shifting in the lamplight. Not quite Lila's, not mine, but something forged in the crucible. What? What are you? Us, I said, voice a duet. The disappointment and the star. Now let's talk deals. Sirens wailed distant. Ruiz, perhaps, with warrants refreshed. But as we faced the door together, the house no longer a prison but a launch pad, I felt the twist settle. Revenge not as destruction, but evolution. They debated in courtrooms and coffins. Justice served cold, or a monster born. Me? I stepped into the dawn, ready to shock the world anew. The end. Open, like the lake's horizon. Family thrives on controversy. We Harpers just made it eternal.